My name is Sean Marshall. How are you guys doing? Everyone good? Awesome. My segment is how not to treat volunteers. So when I was asked to do this, I was like, well, do I not treat my volunteers good, Nikki? Am I an expert at this? We had a kids church one time, and there was, you guys remember the Doritos commercials that are put out during the Super Bowl? Well, this is a few years ago, and I asked the kids in church on Sunday, and I said, hey, kids, what should we do for our Doritos commercial? And one of the kids said, Mr. Caleb should shave his head. I was like, all right. So I asked Caleb, I said, Caleb, what do you think? And he said, all right, this is the result. So his head was bald, and then, he realized he's balding after that, and so his life's never been the same since. So one thing that came to mind was, before you have a big ask, there has to be a bigger investment in your volunteer. You can't ask your volunteers to do something really big, really hard, before you invest in them. Caleb, I've known since he was literally born. He grew up in Weed, a small town where I'm from. He grew up in my kids' ministry, then wound to my wife's youth ministry, and then he came to Sacramento and said, I want to work with you down here. I love, I want to work with kids. And so there was a lot of investing in Caleb before I would ask him to do that kind of crazy stuff. I sat down a few days ago with my volunteers, and I said, okay, I'm teaching this segment. I don't want to come up with this. Volunteers, I want to hear from you. What are things, and don't tell me if I do this wrong, but what are the top 10 things that just irritate volunteers? These are things not to do to your volunteers. By the way, how many of you guys in here are volunteers? Is there any volunteers in here? Awesome. Can we give them a round of applause? Number 1 on the list, ignore the volunteers' ideas. Now, I like to think I have a lot of good ideas, but I really only am as strong as the volunteers that serve with me. Number 2, overuse the volunteer. You can literally ask the volunteer to do too much. And then what happens to a volunteer who's willing, they will eventually wear out. Number 3, be very bossy to the volunteer. I said put the prop over there. How stupid are you? I've never done that. It's acting. I've never called a volunteer stupid, trust me. Number 4, over-communicate everything. This I have done. When I'm filming a video, Renelle, one of my volunteers, tells me, you turn into like Mr. Hyde. Like all of a sudden you're saying the same thing 1,000 times, and finally she's like, I get it, okay? I'm like, oh, I just want to make sure you know. Leading into number 5, don't communicate enough. Expect that they just understand what you're wanting without any communication can really frustrate your volunteers. Number 6, complain about your personal problems. Coming to church on Sunday. I got pulled over by the cop, and I said, this is so stupid. I didn't do anything wrong. Now I've got to pay this ticket. Feel sorry for me. Complaining about your personal problems, it really, really takes the air right out of the room. I had a volunteer one time, and they just did nothing but complain. And the other volunteers came to me and said, we can't take it anymore. It's just making us wah. So I had to sit down. Don't complain about your personal problems to your volunteers. In fact, I like to think that, when you come into a room, all of a sudden, you need to be about everyone else in the room. And so I have a few people in my life that I can complain to. This is, right? Just a few people. Everyone else, I'm great. How are you doing? How's your life? How can I help you? How can I love on you? How can I be of service to you? Number 7 of how not to be a volunteer, of how not to treat your volunteers, do everything yourself. I've made the mistake of thinking, I don't want to ask too much. I'll just do it all. But then, like Michelle said so correctly, you can literally not make your volunteers feel appreciated, or you can help your volunteers not to grow in their position. God has a plan for each and every one of us, and it's not all about you as a leader. Number 8, don't be organized. This is another one for me that I struggle with. Just going to go down and get all this stuff over here, and it's all, just help me deal with this mess. Try to be as organized as you can. Number 9, don't let your volunteers know you care. When your volunteer comes up and says, oh man, I'm having a kind of a hard day, just don't go, you know what, it's almost time for church. Can you just be okay? Thanks. Number 10, the final one. Don't recognize them. Hog all the glory. A little bit later today, you guys are going to get a comic book, and I would never say, look at this comic book that I made. I did it all myself. Oh, I'm so creative. Don't hog. In fact, spend most of your time recognizing when Pastor Scott Hagan at our church says, man, this children's ministry is going so great. I say, hey, it's not me. It's all these fine people that are serving with me. I can't do it without them. The final thing I want to say is, if you care for your volunteers, they will care for you. And I want to show you one last video, but when I start it, I'm going to have you pause it. Pastor Nikki. It's the volleyball one. Some of you may have seen this. Wait 1 second. I'm going to tell you to pause it and
is looking to put this one into the
pause it. Okay. So the team in blue, those are your kids on Sunday. Okay. The team in white on the other side is the pastoral staff, all the leaders. The one guy here in the middle with the dark blue shirt, that's your volunteer. Okay? Let's go ahead and hit play. So the ball is served. Here we go. It's going to be a great message. Oh, the volunteer takes one to the face. The volunteer's down. He takes it again. And he takes it again. And he takes it again. So the pastoral staff takes their volunteer, holds him up. Boom! Now watch this. The pastoral staff is celebrating while the volunteer is in a bloody pile on the floor. And everyone's happy. You guys have a few hundred volunteers that are expendable, right? Thank you very much. That is probably, I'm going to say it's real, but I think it's fake. Thank you, guys.